Hi, I'm Marcia Danzig. I'm the founder of Yoga for Amputees, and I wanted to share just a little bit about my experience as an amputee teaching and practicing yoga. I started practicing yoga about 30 years ago when I was living in LA, and my friend took me to a class, and then I practiced on a mountaintop in the desert. That was my first real experience of yoga. When I got to the class, I felt really vulnerable. I wore socks. I was sliding all over the ground. There's no such thing as a yoga mat. We used towels and blankets, similar to yoga blankets that you use today in many studios. It was really slippery, and I had to learn how to stabilize myself. And I was also learning how to stabilize my sense of self because I felt so different, so outnumbered. It was just a very different time in the world of disability. And then, about 10 years after that, I felt this profound calling to become a yoga teacher. And even though I had been practicing for a while, I really was uncomfortable with the notion of being a yoga teacher. I had been in a PhD program. I was just on a very different intellectual path. And honestly, the last thing I thought of doing was becoming a yoga instructor. But the calling came, and within 3 weeks I had signed up for a yoga training, and I was on my way. It wasn't easy at all at the time. When I was in my early 30s, my kidneys had also failed because I had childhood cancer, which is why I had lost my leg. And there were a lot of side effects, including damage to my bladder and then ultimately my kidneys. So it was a really tough journey to have to be in yoga class at 6 o'clock. If we were there at 6:01, we were docked late for the whole day. So I had to commit to taking all my training, go to dialysis at night, be exhausted, and then come back the next day and figure out how to work with this prosthetic leg, which at the time was kind of old-fashioned, was really cumbersome, and was really slippery on the bottom. So I really had to learn a lot about finding my sense of self, standing my ground literally, and being okay with being seen as a person, not just another inspiration or amputee, or whatever people felt like calling me. A lot of people didn't even know what to call me. I found it really interesting. My trainers didn't really know how to work with me. They did their best, but I think they were kind of cautious of of hurting me and also not wanting to offend me. And what I found was, for me, and this is just me, that experience made me want to really step up to the plate, literally, and be seen and be heard, barefoot, stand my ground fully, and say, I'm really a normal person. I'm just a person who lost a limb, not I'm a disabled person. And that was a big revelation for me. And a lot of it came by my relationship with my body beginning to change. And when that began to change, people around me saw me differently. The prosthesis was the last thing they noticed, and they were often shocked by it. But it was still a really lonely journey, and I still have my moments now. I love being a yoga teacher. I love being a yoga therapist and a dancer and a movement therapist. I love running Yoga for Amputees, and I love offering trainings and workshops and lectures and books and all of it. But there are those moments when I sometimes feel just a little bit vulnerable, wondering if I'm going to be seen as a whole person or as a person who has an issue. It comes up when I step into a yoga class where students don't know me, and of course I can't bend my ankle on my left foot, so my left ankle stays up. There are definitely certain poses I can't do with my prosthesis on. It's easier to do it without. And then there's always the question, should I take the prosthesis off? Will that frighten people? Will that scare people? Am I putting my own stuff on somebody else's experience of yoga? For me personally, I feel more comfortable wearing my prosthesis because it's just easier to walk around and assist people and not have to take it on and off. And some people I know have a hard time taking their prosthesis on and off. I don't. I'm lucky that way. But it still comes up where I still find that there are people who don't know what to say. They don't want to offend me. They don't want to say the wrong thing or be the wrong way. So I would say if you are somebody who lost a limb and would like to become a yoga teacher, or you already are a yoga teacher, please remind yourself that your experience of you and your body is as important and relevant to you as it is to anybody else. That you have nothing to prove, and honestly, even though we are great teachers by showing up and reminding people of what's possible, it's not necessarily our job to do so. And I would encourage you to keep connecting to your own sense of wholeness. And this is why I'm starting the Amputee Yoga Association. This will be launched in October of 2017. If you'd like to join this revolution and become a greater part of our circle and get the support that you need for our unique experience, please join me. There's just a very low monthly fee or a yearly fee. You can post all your classes. There'll be lots of free resources, and every quarter I'll be doing an online live workshop to help us as amputees share our knowledge and our experience to not only inspire the world, not because we owe the world that, but because our presence, our overcoming, our being able to stand and walk again or be in our wheelchair or with our crutches says to the world that we are ourselves, we are whole, and we're here to stay. Please join me. Namaste.